So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining the session this evening. So, the topic today is this: want a career change but don't know where to start. And we're going to look at a system to structure the process of how we change career. So, pleasure to meet you all. I think most of you all know from LinkedIn. Um, In terms of my background, so I've worked in talent, HR, and leadership for 20 plus years. And I've worked for some pretty big companies across the globe, like Michael Page, Shell Hoob Group in this region, and the Middle East network for PwC. I have a bachelor's in psychology, and I later did a master's in business psychology and coaching. And I have my CIPD chartered fellowship as well. And I tell you this because I just sort of wanted to set the scene that I had a pretty solid kind of career. And in 2024, I decided to change that and I pivoted. So today I'm working as a career development coach and I support other people to plan and execute their own career success. I also get to partner with the Saudi Business School and advise their MBA participants on their careers. And I also tutor CIPD as well for PwC Academy. So I've managed to navigate this career change. I've also helped countless people um, change their own careers, and I'd love to help you do the same. So why are we here today? I would imagine if you're here today, you are already successful in your career. I imagine as well that you're ambitious, that you want to achieve things in life. And at the same time, it might also be that there is a slight nagging, not nagging, but an inner voice that says to you, are you in the right role? Would you want to look at something else? And my voice was there for a long time and it got louder and louder till in the end I sort of had to do something about it. Now, was I crying at night at my job? No. Did I hate it? No. Did I know that I wanted to do something different at some point? Yes. And eventually that was something that I built up to and had a few things in place before I actually executed the move because it does take time if you're looking to do a significant shift. So please nod along to yourself if any of these resonate. So I speak to people day in, day out about their careers, about what's going well, about what they want to change. And these are some of the things that I hear about all the time. So I like my job, but is this it? So I want a career change, but I'm a bit scared of moving. Is this what I really want to do until I retire? I've lost some motivation to do my best at work. So we're not doing bad, but maybe I just don't care as much as I did before. And I've achieved a lot, but now what? You've maybe got a great salary, you've had a great career, but now what? This is a big one. What legacy do I want to leave behind? So sometimes this is where age kicks in, not always, but sometimes. Is my work actually meaningful? Am I contributing to something bigger than myself? Sometimes I don't know what options exist. I want to do something else, but I've got no clue what that might look like. Don't know how to pivot. I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to get there. Sometimes there's this fear around, well, if I change career, I'm going to have to start again and I might lose salary. And the other one, and this one kind of gets me, I've been thinking about this for years. So imagine having this little thought bubbling in the background that you want to make a change and it's been going on for years. So maybe there were some nods going on. And I just wanted to highlight career stages. So we tend to follow three different stages in terms of career. And that first part we call learn. It's your early career. So you can maybe picture your first day at work. You are gathering skills, you're learning how to be in an office, you're becoming competent. And then we sort of enter this mid-career phase, and typically we label this earn because you know what you're doing, you've built your reputation, you're good, you're getting the salary, you're in that earn phase. But you might be seeking growth opportunities, managerial level roles, director level roles, VP level roles. So how do we get that done? And then often we enter into this late career phase, which we call return. So we have learn, earn, and return. And typically, what I see at this stage is that people start to reevaluate what is important to them. It may not just be about money anymore. Often it's about giving back, maybe to younger people, maybe to the community, and doing more purpose-led work. Now, that doesn't always have to be an age thing. I just worked with someone who was mid-20s who kind of came to this realization very recently that they were not aligned with their purpose, and they took some pretty incredible steps to make sure that even at the fresh age of mid-20s, they were going to be working in something that they love. So learn, earn, return. Now, through research, experience of my own, but also of others, I have put together this career pivot system, which sounds very fancy, doesn't it? But really, it's just the steps that you can follow to navigate a career change because it can take time sometimes. You might be thinking about it for a year or years, and it might take you a year to really get all the things that you need to pivot, depending on what that actually is. So let me just walk you through this and then we'll take a look at some of the things that you can do. So, first of all, career goals, priorities, knowing what you love, because that's what this is all about for many people. Investigating opportunities, because it's all very well knowing what we want to do, but is that realistic in the market? Mapping your skills so you see where I am today. And of course, getting that roadmap in place so you can get to where you want to be tomorrow. So let's look at some of these. Could I name 3 career goals today? Are you really able to sit down and write down, I would like to be X, I would like to be in this country, or I want to be this level? And so those are quite factual, aren't they? But maybe there's also things around team leadership. Maybe there are things around the impact that you want to be having. And I don't think we often take time to sit down and do this. So take one thing away is after this call, maybe to sit down with yourself and write down 3 career goals. Because without that, where are you going to build this roadmap to? We have to have something to orientate ourselves towards. And in that vein, one of the exercises that you can do is to really look very far in the future and reverse engineer it. So think about this from your legacy point of view. So if you are 90 and you're sitting on that beautiful rocking chair there, people around you, and they say, what did you do? What kind of impact did you have? What do you want that to be? For me, that's around leaving people better than I found them, and not in a patronizing way, but in a way that makes them feel validated, them feel championed, them feel competent and empowered to go off and achieve the goals that they really, really want. So, what do you want that answer to be? And what difference do you want to make in the world? Because that can become your North Star. So, next along that roadmap I showed you are career priorities. So, again, what are your career priorities? And these may have changed from pre-COVID, from when you were 20. Don't know how old you all are, but what are your priorities? And I did a bit of a poll on LinkedIn just this week, and I asked people, what do you need from your career? And I gave the answers of salary, purposeful work, work-life balance, or something else. And I will publish the results of that. But interestingly, work-life balance is the one that has come out absolute top. So what are your 3? Write those down. And then the second part of that is, how do you rate against those today? So if work-life balance is one of your top priorities on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you today? And if you are 8, 9, 10, brilliant. If you are 5, 6, 7, maybe there's some work to be done there. And if you are 1 to 4, please give me a call so I can support you in getting a role that's going to get you more like work-life balance. But priorities are important and they move. Okay, my favorite section. So identifying what you love. And I wonder, when was the last time you actually took a moment to think about what you want from work? What do you love? And if you'll just indulge me for 1 minute, I want to show you about positive psychology. Now, positive psychology is a psychological approach, and it's not toxic positivity and we must be happy and yoga and fruit in the office. No. What positive psychology looks at is how and what we need as human beings to thrive, to be our best, to feel empowered, enabled, and winning, right? And looking at those factors that we need. And Dr. Martin Seligman, I think he's a doctor, came up with this model of well-being, which I love. And the best way to think about this model is in terms of these categories, PERMA. As human beings, we all seek out these things automatically and unconsciously because they help us to be our best, to thrive as human beings. So, regardless of age, of gender, of status, of job, we're going to seek out these things and we're going to be better for them. Our well-being is increased when we have them. Positive emotions is one. Okay. So that's quite easy to understand, isn't it? We want to feel the joyful emotions. We want to feel fulfilled. We want to feel grateful. We want to feel happy. And obviously, there's loads of things that you can do to bring that into your life that I don't need to tell you about here. Um, but positive emotions is something we seek out. So think about work and are you having those? The second one is engagement. And I'll show you a quick exercise on this, but it's about being in flow state, right? It's about when you are super engaged in what you're doing, you're really enjoying it, you're not really noticing what's going on around you. So for some people, that might be analysis. For some people, that might be having an interview with somebody. For other people, that might be writing a report. So that's going to be really unique to you and what you find pleasure in. The third one is relationships. So again, we as human beings seek out authentic, quality, loving relationships. Now, you don't have to love your colleagues, right? But, inherently, when we have stronger relationships with people at work, we take more meaning and have higher well-being when that's in place. So again, when you're next at work, have a look around you and look at the people that you have in your network and see where you can maybe start to strengthen some of those relationships. Meaning, and this is where a lot of kind of my work comes in. So we want to have a sense of purpose. And if you've ever considered the question of, why we're on the planet, why are we here? It links into that. Often we want to be able to do and contribute to something bigger than ourselves, which could be our role, which could be our company, could be the world, the economy, sustainability. And again, that will be aligned to you as a human being and what your values are. But working aligned with meaning is gold. And finally, accomplishment. This is the traditional to-do list, right? Like if we have a to-do list, we're going to feel a sense of accomplishment, goal achievement, satisfaction, fulfillment when we tick something off it. And this is why it's so important to have goals because it's going to drive you and motivate you to achieve them, to accomplish them. So there's sort of the science behind a lot of what we do. And, that is ways to build in love, if I want to put it this way, into your work. Um, Here are some other ones, and we won't obviously have time today, but if we do some work together later, then these are the kind of things that we might get involved in. So I love this one, $1 million entrepreneur. So if you were given $1 million from funding to just go and do whatever businesses you want, what three things would you come up with? And then the devil's in the detail, digging around, what impact, who are your clients, what do you do, and seeing if there's any common threads. Looking back to childhood can be super insightful for many people. Um, and it's really about revisiting without any boundaries. What brought you joy? What did you really love doing? What did you think you might do when you were younger? And again, maybe revisiting that in the spirit of adulthood. What was it about that you really liked? Flow state. So this is the engagement piece I was telling you about. So when was the last time you were fully in flow state? What were you genuinely doing? What did you love about it? So for me, I love getting stuck into some analysis and spreadsheets and numbers and conversions and all of that good stuff. And time flies for me. And then I feel very motivated. And finally, perfect work day. So again, I have this as a whole exercise, but it's really taking a moment to look at, what does my perfect work day look like? What does my office look like, or workplace? Who am I seeing when I get to work? What does my agenda look like? And what do I achieve in the course of the day? So all things that you can start to research and reflect on to get a sense of what you love, so you can start to align your role more towards that. All right, so we've looked at goals, priorities, love. Next, we need to be a bit realistic, right? So we want to investigate opportunities that may be available to us. And I think here information is everywhere, and this does take effort, right? So whether you know what you want to go and do or you don't, these are things that you should be doing. So LinkedIn, as I'm sure you're all aware, is a huge source of information, companies, industry news, jobs, people, you can do all of these other things here within LinkedIn, but you should be spending time on there if you're in research mode. Your network. In fact, I'm going to come back to that as the last one. Courses. So I reskilled myself in 2021 to do business psychology and coaching, because I sort of knew I wanted to work with people in a different way. And coaching was one of those ways that I thought I might do that. And yet I didn't move till 2024. So you start to see the timelines. And even today, I'm actually restudying, reskilling to be a therapist. So I'm using those courses. I reviewed them to see, okay, what is the accreditation or qualification route to get me to be a coach or a therapist? And then I did the courses. Job descriptions. So again, these are going to be a big source of information. So if you're considering a move, go onto LinkedIn or any other job board and find JDs that look interesting to you. Note down what it is that you like about it. What are those sorts of skills? What are the responsibilities that are listed? And really start to understand what it is that you could move into. And finally, network. So network is our net worth, as they say, and this is very true. This is where career pivots can happen more easily when you've got that sense of belonging in those relationships, like we talked about from the psychology model. Because when they know you and they know your reputation, they're going to be more willing to give you a chance, and that's internally or externally. So do not neglect your network. Okay, map your skills. So I appreciate this might be slightly easier to do as an external exercise. Like, how do you actually do it for yourself? But it's about maybe using what tools you've got available to you. Maybe you have a coach who helps you to identify that. There are some strengths evaluators online that you can do. Feedback that you may have had 360 or in your appraisals at work. Okay. But really having a good understanding of what you have is going to help you get to where you want to go. And I love this quote: when love and skill work together, expect a masterpiece. I just think it's brilliant, and it ties in all the work we've been talking about. Okay, so I think this is probably the most critical part, or certainly one of them, when we consider career pivots. So I couldn't have done mine had I not done my master's in coaching back in 2021. And I certainly won't be able to practice as a therapist until I've completed my qualifications there. So, step one, learn what you need for your desired role. So you've done all this investigation, goals, priorities, what you love. You've seen what options might be available. So you need to start to see what your gap is and what you need to fill. Leverage company sponsorship. So I read a stat the other day, 50% of people take up company sponsored training. 50%. So 50% are not taking it up. Now that was up 9 points from last year. So it tells me two things. One, people are not making the most of the opportunities in front of them. Two, the rate is accelerating. So for people not upskilling and making the most of company resources are going to get left behind. Okay. So do take this seriously. It might be possible for you to align with your manager on growth plans and what the upskilling looks like. You could think about some professional qualifications. And this absolutely links back to those goals that we discussed right in the beginning. I thought I would show this. This is quite interesting. So World Economic Forum run surveys on many things, but one of them is job skills. And the results of their Skills on the Rise 2025-2030 identified these 10 skills as the top ones that are going to be required. No big surprise, right? AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, technological literacy. And those ones are the ones that are increasing the most rapidly. And yet, I'm happy to see a number of people-related skills, leadership and social influence, talent management. That's a strange one, right? That used to be an HR function activity, but now actually it's really required by everybody. Resilience, creative thinking, analytical thinking. So these would be really good to have a think about generally because they're going to support you to future-proof your own careers. One person asked me, how do we convince recruiters to give us a chance, right? And I thought I'd put this in here because I'm not sure you can convince recruiters, okay? Their role is to fill the job that they have. Let's be clear about that. That's their mission. They've got a role, whether it's agency or in-house, and they're trying to find the best match for that position. So they're going to be looking for certain skills to be in place. So there's other things that you need to do and that you can do to better position yourself with everybody. The first thing you need to do, obviously, is know what skills are needed for what you're trying to move into. Without that, this is all pointless. And then, in order to position yourself differently, you can think about these things. So you can sign up for internal, cross-functional projects. Maybe you're looking to make a move into a more senior role or a department outside of where you are. So think about what they're working on and volunteer to help them. This might be on top of your day-to-day job. Most companies will have some kind of stretch projects or secondments that you can consider. It's also much easier, isn't it, to look at an internal move, so internal mobility into something else versus externally. So talk to your managers, talk to HR, see what can be done. Okay. Secondly, you can write about the topic or the area that you're looking to move into to increase your visibility to those that care. So it's sort of networking, but looking at content, events, following companies of interest. I think, coaches, mentors, internal sponsors to champion your career, these are all really important to have. And I call them your internal allies. You need to make sure that there are some people who are aware of what you're trying to do and can support you to get there. And please also think about the reverse of this, right? Like, how can you also pay it back, pay it forward in terms of supporting maybe other people to realize their own goals? So checking out voluntary options or create a scheme. So we're talking a lot in quite a passive way, aren't we, here of, what can I use around me? But is there something you can set up to help other people? So I'll give you a small example. We had a peer-to-peer information swapping system in a previous company where you could register your skill set and then at the same time you could put requests in if you wanted to learn something new. So I wanted to learn about digital marketing at the time, and I was paired up with our performance marketer in the company and a chap from the business who also wanted to learn. And we spent time every month understanding what digital marketing was, which on the face of it has nothing to do with HR, but I needed it for some of my talent attraction work. So the point being, is there something that you can do or create or come up with that's going to support your career move? And finally, leverage your network. I will bang on and harp on about the network until the cows come home, because this is how you're going to execute maybe some of the more wild card options. And you know what it's like. You maybe meet someone at an event or the paddle court or the school gate, and you spark up a conversation and they'll share your CV or they'll suggest you things. So that can quite often be the way that you can execute an unusual change. Difficult to do cold, which is why a lot of this pre-work is really important. Okay. And then last but not least, the designing of your roadmap. So you've put together all this work. What do I want to do? What's my priorities? What do I love? What options are available? What's my skill set like? And then you need to look at how you get there. And that, my friends, is a whole other piece of work, which we can certainly do together if it's something that you're interested in exploring. So as we're coming up to the close, I've got a question for you. how much do you really want to make a change? I wonder if it's been years for you that you're thinking about this, or is that itch getting a bit itchier? And if you are a 4 or 5 today, what are you going to do about this? And really just to say your next opportunity could be much closer than you think. So I do, if you'll indulge me, have one thing to talk to you about, which is the Career Pivot Program. So this is really for people who know they want to make a change. They're sort of ready to explore the change, and want to take some time to do that. So we would work together across 12 weeks. We would have one-to-one coaching through each of those stages. So we're going to really look at goals, priorities, what you love, the opportunities, skills, and the roadmap, as well as other things, to be honest, as well. There's a ton of resources, exercises, and support that come with this, lots of reflection. So people kind of really appreciate that inward look and time for themselves. Like, when do you ever take time to look at your career? Talent expertise. So I have, as mentioned, been doing this a really long time, and have lots to bring to the table from the talent point of view, the psychology point of view, the leadership point of view, but also I've done the pivot myself and advise other people on that now. And then, of course, practical support. So if we get to the point where you are clear on what you want, we will put together that market strategy so you can go ahead and execute your move. Obviously, not everyone gets to that point, and that's fine. It's quite fluid to match what you actually need. So, what do I want to do? Well, I want to change these thoughts, and this is what shifts for people when we do this work. So, we saw this before. I like my job, but is this it? Well, only if you want it to be. I want a career change, but I'm scared. Well, what we'll do is build what's needed to take away most of the fear. It's always going to require a little bit of a leap of faith. I've lost the motivation to do my best at work. Well, let's engage more. Let's ignite that back through the power of positive psychology. So I've achieved a lot, but now what? Well, meaning, purpose, work-life balance, better salaries. There's other things that we can be gaining. I don't know what options exist. Well, you will after the program. And is this what I really want to do until I retire? Well, perhaps that new role might be. And I've been thinking about this for years. Well, let's shift that. If not now, when are you going to tackle this? So if that does sound interesting to you, and if you're a 4 or 5 in terms of wanting to change, or you've been thinking for over a year, I invite you for a consultation call to discuss that career discovery system to transform your future. So there's a little QR code there that you can scan, which will take you through to a booking page. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my email address is there. So with all of that said, we are finished for today, and I would just like to thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to meeting with you all soon. Thank you very much.